What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a different video. I did a part 1 with Mackey at IronSide Ranch on his channel, and this is a part 2 to that conversation, which I thought was pretty decent. It's about farming, homesteading, all that type of stuff. But I messed up the Zoom call, and so I have video there, but it was spotty. It was bad. The file didn't save well. So this one I'm going to roll just as audio. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this platform. A lot of people have asked for like a podcast format at some point. I'm like, I know I do a lot of audio personally, and I do the YouTube premium account where it's like $10 a month, and I can turn my phone off. Like I click it off, and I literally listen. Like I listen to at least 95% of all the content I consume on YouTube. So maybe you do as well. Maybe you don't. I apologize for the it's going to be different because we're not going to have the visual for this one. So if you're a guy that sits there and watches this content, well, you're going to be looking at a picture of Mackey or something like that on this one. But anyway, I figured it out. We'll do better on the next ones, but let me know your thoughts on the audio version, and hope you enjoy it. And all right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got Mackey on with IronSide Ranch. How you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We were able to talk yesterday about some food forest stuff. We're going to do kind of add on to that conversation here. I think where I want to go with this one is first I'm going to unpack what a food forest is. I got involved in food forests like around 08, 09. Our school, like the hippies at my school, started like talking about this idea, and I was like, what are these guys? I was like always into it, doing landscaping and stuff. Like by the time like 2011 came around, these kids had actually built a food forest, and I'd helped them kind of put it together. And the concept to me was pretty cool because I was like, oh, it's like a garden, but it's like a forest. It just kind of self-sustains itself once you get it going on. So I've been working on one of those myself. You guys can check out videos on the channel here. Mackey's working on 20 acres. Got an orchard out there, got cattle out there, got chickens, I believe.
Mhm.
And so what's going on with you? Where are you, what?
Well, so we have an income coming in from ours that we do with the cattle and the pigs. So we the chickens are just for us, but we do have an income coming on. And one of the byproducts of that is having like massive amounts of manure and stuff that you have to appropriately,
Yes.
I don't want to say dispose of, because that makes it seem like it's a waste product when it's a very valuable product, but you have to, I guess, just I don't know, some way get rid of it, right? Or use it or recycle it or upcycle it. And so one of the ways for us is getting that orchard started, and that food forest, because you can only use so much in a garden. I can add it back to my field because right now, and we were doing a fertility video here next week talking about the field fertility in some of these pastures. And you see the ones where you see all the broom grass and stuff sticking out. And, and so anyway, so it originally started as an idea, like, how do we use up this? And, oh, by the way, we want to grow our own food. And then as we started researching it, we found that there's so much stuff that I can grow here that's not at our local stores. I mean, I got a kiwi the other day and it said product of Greece. I'm like, what the hell is, I mean, how are we
Yeah, it's crazy.
kiwi from Greece?
Yeah.
And when I can grow golden kiwis here in my backyard. And,
Yeah.
and there's one kiwi farm in Alabama. I mean, it's unreal.
Yep.
So that was the whole thing. It's like, okay, we can grow these here. We can grow really cool products here. We can feed my family, and we can grow enough to sell and use up some of our waste products.
So this is a great point here. So I've been learning this too. And for the viewers, I think that there is mad opportunity, and I mean mad crazy opportunity in the small time farming operation throughout the next 10, 15, 20 years. The reason I say this is I've been following one of your guys, Joel Salatin.
Salatin, yeah.
Salatin. Been following him, been following Gabe Brown.
Yep. Gabe Brown.
Okay. I'm getting to know the circle there,
Yeah,
I might actually go to
big ones are Greg Judy, Gabe Brown, and Joel Salatin.
Got all three of those guys.
Those are three guys that everybody talks about. Everybody knows them.
Got those guys. So anyway, I'm tired of dealing with customers, to be honest. I'm a lot of stuff. I'm in the process. We'll see if we whatever. It's like a 5-mile like road clear and stuff like that. And these are like dream projects for me. Like, but I'm looking at this thing going like, talking to this road construction guy. It's like a $43 million project for them. We're obviously possible sub on it. And I'm like, all these guys got bad attitudes and stuff. I'm just like, I'm not like as like young and bushy tailed as I was like when I started out in it. And I'm like, I'm just digging like hanging out at my place and just digging in the ground and like planting trees. And like, I just started grafting trees, and like, I'm starting to get a little cash flow on some of these things.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, it's small cash flow. It's everything that I'm pulling off of it right now. I'm buying fencing with it, or I'm buying, I want to do an aquaponics setup. So I know it's going to cost me $3 to $5 grand the way I'm looking at doing it. I want to do like, I got a little like potting shack. I need to put a few grand into that. I want to do some panels on, some solar panels on it and stuff. But like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, and I'm looking around the internet and I'm following a lot of these different people on YouTube. And I'm like, some of these people and people I buy plants from are doing well.
Yeah,
They're doing
there's
well.
some money in this. My wife and I, we added this up, and you see what does a pack of freaking kiwis go for? It's like eight for $10 or something like that. They're just over $1 a piece, or right under $2, something like that. And it's like, how many kiwis do you get off of one plant? I mean, one freaking kiwi vine. And you think about like, what can I do with this if I expand this, and I have apples and peaches, and I started doing things like we talked about the ice cream bananas, right? Because you can grow ice cream bananas in the South. Who the hell ever thought that you could grow bananas?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't until I saw your video.
Yeah, we always think they come from like South America or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, no, we can grow our bananas here local. So there's a lot of opportunity for that.
Finance guy I followed, Jim Rickards. He's growing lime trees in New Hampshire. So just for people, obviously he's got a greenhouse set up and stuff like that. But what you can grow is, when you really get into it, no matter where you are, the possibilities really are endless. I mean, all the way up to these guys doing microgreens and ocean containers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching people doing like city ocean container stuff, and they're doing like 10 grand a month on a container. And the guy's like, oh, I'm at my office today. And it's like, he's got a 40-foot container. Maybe it's 2 stories. He's got 2 containers. And I'm looking at and it's very elaborate and super, you got to be a geek, like an engineer, to really be into that, to really have it dialed. Like, these guys got it dialed. But I'm like looking at this and I'm going like, this is some serious production. It's domestic. It solves a lot of the logistical problems. People like to, I mean, good organic food is good organic food. Yeah. And we're in agriculture commodities super cycle.
Well, I mean, and look at what it does when you start removing the logistics from it. And when I take away the logistic nightmare behind the food production, and I cut out the big guys, right? So let's just look at the price of pork right now. If you want to go get grass-fed, pasture-raised pork that's non-GMO fed, you want to go to the store and buy that, you're looking at about $25 for a pound of bacon, right? Wow. That's outrageous. Yet ours sells for about $7.50 for a pound of bacon. Now, granted, you have to buy the half a pig, so you have to pay $7.50 a pound for everything else. But the amount of savings that you can get when you cut out all those middlemen is unreal. And people don't realize how much meat is on like a half a pig, a whole pig, or a cow, or whatever. And you do the same thing. It converts over to your orchards. It converts over to anything that you want to grow. When you remove those middlemen out of the equation and you remove the logistics, and I say, okay, you come to my farm and buy my food, then all of a sudden you're getting much higher quality food. You're getting stuff that's not built for transport, right? Because the tomatoes that we eat that are built for transport, they're bred for transport. They taste like the cardboard box they came in.
Dude, I learned this with bananas. They don't have the bananas I'm growing do not have the shelf life that the store-bought bananas do. Mm-hmm. They're quick, so you cut them when they're green and stuff. I'm learning about that, but I'm like, wow, organic food is you can't ship organic food. No. You really can't. But I'm looking, like, to your point, and for people watching, like, one, there's an offensive and a defensive way to do this that Joel talks about, where he goes, offensive is being an operator. And he's talking about leased land. He's actually got a website where you can go and find farmers. There's some demographics for people watching. I've got a lot of exterior contractors in this audience, and I've got a lot of people that are in the lawn care, that type of space, from the very beginning days of this channel. And I have said for a while now, dude, those people are perfect for moving into the food forest thing, because you can carve out a niche. You can be the landscaper in your town that specializes in food forest. I've got about an hour north of me. Guy's booked out 9 months. He's got a YouTube channel with 260,000 subscribers. So you do the math on what he's making per month on that. He's got a nursery, and I think he's got like 4 or 5 employees. Yeah. So it's a tight, small operation. It wouldn't surprise me at all. He's making 300, 400 a year.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
and people will pay that all day long to have those
Yep.
built. And you know, the thing about it is it's not hard to build yourself. It takes a little planning,
Mhm.
and you know, you can't just nimbly bibbly throw out seeds like we talked about the other night. You
Yep.
can't just, you know, you're not just going to go stick a tree in the ground.
Nope.
I'm going to have a video here actually in the next week or two on actually planting trees, like, you know, because there's you know, specific trees have different requirements, but there's general concepts on how you plant trees and how to get them safely in the ground to where they're successful. And I had somebody comment the other day on one of my videos and said, you need to do a video on this because it's mind boggling how many people don't know that.
Yep.
And so anyway, so I think that, you know, this is something that is very doable on very small land. I mean, you can make a food forest on a quarter of an acre, a half an acre in a subdivision. And, you know, like we talked about the other night, HOAs don't come into play on this because they generally don't restrict, or at least they're not that restrictive on tree types. I know
Yep.
they can be, but.
Yep. I mean, I'm just looking at this entire industry as a whole. Like, I've got some metal shovels. They're hard to find good garden tools. I've actually read some books lately, and they were complaining about the quality of garden tools that exist now.
Mhm.
That, like, you know, older school tools like in the 50s weren't like this. There's an opportunity right there just to make like badass tools. You know,
I
there's
drive
a
an hour and a half actually to buy my garden tools because there's only
yeah.
one store around that carries quality garden tools.
The,
And so I drive an hour and a half to go up there to get a post hole digger because
Yeah,
it's
and you're willing to pay double whatever Home Depot price is for something that, you know, is legit, and you can ship those things easy. You know,
Mhm.
like so I mean, there's opportunity there. There's opportunity on the compost thing. I mean, really, just the compost alone, I think, is a huge opportunity that you get, because I've always wanted to have a waste dump type of operation as I get going here. I still think I like that. I like that model, but like,
Well, let me tell you here what I had a boss that I used to work with a long time ago. Back I was trimming trees. I had rock climbing experience, so they used me. I was a climber, so I was trimming
nice.
trees and
Yeah,
working for this arborist.
rare.
And so he'd have all these wood chips left over, right? Because what are they doing? They're grinding it all up, or they have the big
Yep.
fat logs. And so he obviously had a firewood business because he had all these logs left over. So he's selling firewood, and then he had all the wood chips. And what he would do is he would compost these wood chips down out in this big field. And he ran the whole business. He ran it all off of biodiesel. So he'd go around and just beg for grease. But what's one of the byproducts of biodiesel? Well, it's glycerin. What happens when you throw glycerin on your compost pile? Well, it makes it biodegrade about twice as fast.
Really? Wait a
Yeah,
second. Hold on, because I'm a biodiesel guy myself,
yeah, yeah.
and I know
So,
this.
so this is what he would do. He would throw the
Yeah.
glycerin on the
That's
compost. The
yeah.
compost, he would turn a 2-year compost into a 1-year compost.
What?
And then, yeah, and turn it all. And then he turn around and sell this really high quality compost.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's baller, because I didn't know that I had a waste product. Like, because normally we just make soap out of it or we use it for other things. Um,
Yeah,
but
he just
like,
threw it right on the compost. I
wow.
don't know enough about the mechanics of it, and I've never made biodiesel. I understand
Yeah.
the concept of it, but if I
Yeah.
do that with my vehicle, I'll just make them straight grease cars. But
Yeah. 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 Okay. Cool. Yeah. I actually ran my truck on straight vegetable oil for years.
oh,
Years.
really?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I never paid $4 or $5 for diesel fuel. I missed all that 08, 09. I didn't pay anything for fuel. So,
Yeah, that's one of
but
the next phases for us.
yep.
But anyway, so bottom line is that there's a huge opportunity in compost and having good organic compost.
Yeah.
Uh,
Huge.
yeah, and I think that there's enough waste products out there that you can get the majority of the materials for free if you're willing to call a power company. You know, Asplund does like nationwide.
Yep.
And all you gotta do is call over to their local office and you can get chip drops. You can go
Yep.
to chipdrop.com. If you're in a residential area, they'll drop you a minivan size of chips
Yeah.
to be used for this. So we can't get chip drop out here, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah. No, I've got guys coming every day. I've got 2, 3 guys a day rolling into my place, dropping chips. I'm piling it. I'm putting it out. I mean,
Man, I'm jealous. We can't
yeah.
get anybody out here. I've been signed up for chip drop for 2 years now.
Yeah. The way I do it is I call through these guys. I got a list. I got 50 guys on a list. I call once a month.
Oh, do you?
Build a relationship with it. I don't take palms because we got a weird fungus disease going on here right now. So I just told the guys, like, I'm not doing palms. But like, other than that, like, bring it in. And and you do have to have a property that's strategic to that. So to Joel's point there, he's got this offensive where he says, okay, you're an operator. He's talking about, maybe he talks about his egg mobiles, which basically he's just doing like really cool or organic eggs.
Mhm.
And he's doing well. You can do well, especially when you're really scaling it, and you can do it on leased or rented land. But his point on the demographics was the average American farmer is 60 years old.
Yeah.
The average Japanese farmer is 66 years old. And not a great topic here, but the highest rate of suicide, I believe, in Britain is in the agricultural industry.
Oh, interesting.
And so the old school monoculture, that's been in a bear market for the last 30 years or so, I think it's flipped. I think that it has already flipped, and that we are seeing like this polyculture, like these food forests. People like you taught me, carrots, carrots love tomatoes,
Yeah.
right? So I started intercropping them and stuff like that. But I think that there are so many opportunities in the space, through all aspects. To your point, making a brand. I've got a buddy that does honey, and he's got 4 acres, and he's got it all planted, but he's got like a honey brand with a website and like everything, like LLC, the whole thing. And
Mhm.
it's in addition to his other company, and it's growing every single year.
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
building clients.
and if you have the land too, there's opportunities without to even really exposing yourself to much. So for us, we have our inspection business here in Birmingham, and one of our employees, her husband, is really big into bees, and he's always they only have
Yep.
a couple acres, so he's always looking for more land. I was like, hey, dude, you can come put as many hives as you want on here as long as you provide me honey. You
Right.
sell the honey, you do what you want, but it pollinates my land,
Mm-hmm.
and I get free honey out of it.
See, and for that guy, he doesn't have a cost of land. So a lot of people listening, if you're a young dude, I know we got some, young guys here. You don't have to buy the land right out to get going. You just need to know, you need to have a mobile operation, but it puts you in a position where you can do a lease to own deal, and that puts you in real estate. And where we've made our wealth on this land is like, we bought this thing for like 150. I improved it. I probably put 50, 60. I probably put like 80 actually, like in improvements into it, like between the well, the road, all that stuff. And land in our area has skyrocketed. I mean, we could probably sell this place without any structures for over 500, at this point. So like that, the wealth building part has come from the land part for sure, but the cash flows are catching up to that. And the cash flows are really them, they're compounding, at
Well,
first.
and for us, it's a matter of, because we're building the wealth in our land, but we're
Mhm.
also trying to have that cash flow monthly. So there's two avenues of building equity there, right? So I want that cash flow monthly from my business, but if I own the land, for our land, like our land was all wooded when we bought it, it was scrubland. It was
Yep.
about $1,200 an acre land.
Oh,
It,
nice.
it was just
Yeah.
crap, no fertility. And as we get the areas fenced and turned into good pastures that are producing, and have the orchard built and everything, our land, then we're actually jumping up to where we're now closer to about 35 to $44,000 an acre. We're
Wow.
right out now, and
Yep.
we'll end somewhere between 7 and 10,000 an acre.
Dude, I hear this all the time. My buddy bought his place for like 22. I think next door is going for like 125 right now.
Yeah.
But like these opportunities exist everywhere. But the exciting thing here that Joel was talking about is in the agriculture industry in North America, 50% of all farms, farming equipment, farming assets are going to change ownership in the next 10 to 15 years. It's a demographical certainty.
Mhm.
And so massive opportunity. A lot of these older farmers too, they have children that want to keep the land maybe, or keep the farm going, but they have no interest in it. So these farms are going to come up for sale, or they're going to come up for partnership deals,
Mhm.
or so if you can build this skill set and you can start building a customer list, and you can start, I follow a girl on YouTube. I think it's called the Shepherdess or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, I know her. We follow her as well.
Dude, I want to do a Zoom with her at some point, but I'm
I've been
following
trying
her.
to get in contact with her. If you get in contact with her, let me know.
Okay, definitely. Because I've been following her stuff, and I'm just like, man, this chick is fabulous. She was like in interior design or fashion or retail or something. She's
Maybe
like
she's
in
a
retail.
marketing person or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she was like a corporate stooge. Yeah. And it was like, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I'm just going to do this land thing. Her family's like, okay, you're crazy. She's got herself 20 acres somewhere. She's got sheep. She's doing over 6 figures. She's got a podcast. She's got a YouTube channel. She won some sort of award. So she's speaking at all these events now. And I'm like, this is a trend. Like this is not going to stop. This is going to keep going for sure for the next decade, maybe two, maybe longer. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
this
we're
is
on a 20-year cycle of a lot of opportunity in the agriculture industry.
huge.
And I think that if you're not jumping into it, and not taking advantage of that, because there's so many ways of taking advantage of that. You don't have to have 100 acres to go out
Nope.
and take advantage of that.
No.
You can take advantage of the agricultural opportunities with 1 acre, having that small plot of land and getting something started, getting
Yep.
something growing, being
Yep.
able to provide for yourself, and then for friends and family down the road, and being able to have something to sell that's got real tangible value.
I mean, for people listening, I started my ag journey, if you will, in like 2015. I rented 2 acres for $600 a month. I had access to unlimited well water. The guy had a burn permit. I had a tree service. worked out nicely. I started bamboo. I had about an acre and a half of bamboo. I was able to move that bamboo to property when we bought the property. I'm about to sell all that right now, maybe get 30 to 50 grand for what we're about to harvest here. And then I'm going to be dumping it into like, I'm going to expand the food forest by another acre and a half or so. So I'm going to be like planting a lot more mangoes. I'm super bullish on avocados because those guys are like $2 at the store. And so I'm doing the math on an avocado tree, but they're also like $95 for like a 7-gallon or like a 3-gallon.
The avocado coffee, right? Remember that little thing for a while? People pouring the coffee in the avocado shell. Oh
No,
man, there's this weird kind of
no,
fad
yeah.
for a
I mean,
while.
yeah. So I mean, the opportunities are endless. I'm messing with compost tea right now. I think that there's some major opportunity with compost tea. I actually look at some of these fertilizer guys, and I'm like, why aren't you guys just doing compost tea? If there's fertilizer shortages, you can make compost tea for almost free. You probably charge more to put it down too. But I mean, there's lots of these like things that I'm interested in. So I'd encourage guys that are listening, like get just watching this stuff on YouTube and maybe get involved and go around and meet some people. But you'll be surprised how many resources that you run into. One of my biggest mistakes, Mackey, is I think about this all the time. I got the photo and every time it comes on my phone, I'm like, damn. I had this opportunity with this mountain of compost, and I mean a mountain of compost. It was the highest point in Sarasota. And it was from a family, very wealthy family. And they had a 500-acre farm and they had a dump in town, and they grinded all the waste that came in from the landscapers, and they had dumped it on this 500-acre farm for about 3 years in a row. When I found it, they hadn't been dumping there for about 8 years because they sold the dump to WCA. And WCA is out of Texas, big, so they turned it into a franchise thing. So they had this mountain or whatever. I remember noticing it because it caught on fire one time, and the fire department had to go put it down. And so I go out there with my shovel, I dig into it. This stuff is just black gold. And I sold some loads of it, but I never really worked it. The farmer's like, oh yeah, man, that's a nuisance. We got to get, before we sell the farm. And they did sell the farm a couple of years later. He said that all that dirt out there needs to be spread on these fields before we can sell this place, because they sold it for housing development. That mountain was mine for free at about 20-30 bucks a yard. If I said there was 10,000 yards in there, I'd be lying. I bet there was almost 100,000 yards in there.
Oh my gosh.
So, just doing the math on that, stuff like this exists everywhere. If you just get out there and start talking to these people, you'd be surprised how many. I mean, I ran into tree farms several years ago. Old guys, they're selling their house. They haven't worked it in a long time. You'd be surprised how many trees you can go out there with a bobcat, even rent a bobcat for a month and pop 100, 200 trees, Craigslist them out, load them and go. I mean, there's just lots of opportunity in this space. Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to get out, is like just encouraging dudes to take a look at this, because I think that the cash flows in this thing are only going to go up with inflation, and your cost every year are only going to go down. I'm noticing that, because now that the soil's starting to build on me, I've got like worms and stuff like that. I'm noticing I'm getting higher yields. I'm putting less into it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's pretty typical that, as your soil increases in fertility, because most soil in the U.S. is going to be at or below 1% organic matter, which is just absurd. So, and as you start approaching, 3, 4, 5% organic matter, you start really increasing what the capabilities are. And think about it here, the simple numbers are this. For every percent of organic matter you increase per acre, 20,000 gallons of water that acre has gained in carrying capacity. That's what that organic matter absorbs in moisture. So you're actually able to use substantially more of the water. And then you have things, people want to get rid of their rocks. And it's like, no, you should be leaving those rocks so your minerals leach back into the soil, because you get the carbonic acid as organic matter breaks down, and that releases that nutrient back into the soil. So you should be leaving the rocks in the soil. We should be putting topsoil over the top of them and leaving them there. But you need those minerals there. They're not there accidentally. They're there for a purpose.
Yeah. See, I mean, I mean, you're more knowledgeable in this stuff than I am. I'm admittedly amateur. I'm rookie at this stuff. I'm just messing with like, I got and I have been learning that once you introduce that animal factor into it, it really is necessary.
It is.
It really is necessary, because there's like a yin and a yang to it. Once I introduced the chickens, then I didn't have to buy fertilizer. Fertilizer's going up in price. I don't care.
Put a couple pigs and cows on there, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna get a pig or two pigs. You said they like to be
Yeah,
in pairs.
yeah, you always do them in pairs.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm like,
then look at those, and for your small land, look at those Florida crackers. I love
yep.
cows, and
I was
the,
googling them today, actually.
the
Yeah.
reason I like it, and all of ours are registered stock, by the way. So if you need one, let me know.
Okay.
But actually, you're right there in Florida cracker
Hey,
area. So
does this mean that I get to get a cool trailer? Do I get to like be a cowboy? Do I get a
you
hat
have
and
to have a cattle
can I
trailer.
get a gooseneck cow trailer now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I gotta get one of those, man, like they got in Yellowstone.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, dude. I've been looking at them.
Yeah,
I don't
just
have
don't
any
kill a
cows.
snake on me, right?
Yeah, yeah. I always want to be a cowboy. So
So the Florida cracker cows, they're great on small land, and that's the big advantage is because no commercial farmers are ever going to be able to make the money that they want to make running a heritage breed cow like that.
mm,
Where they are very desirable and where they make the biggest fit is if you're a commercial farmer and you're doing a cow calf operation, if you ran all your heifers and all your cows as a Florida cracker or a heritage breed like Piney Wood, something that's real tough, and you crossbred them with a black Angus, then all of a sudden you get all black offspring. I have disease resistant cattle, so I'm not having to worm, I'm not having to vaccine, I'm not having to do all this different crap, and so again, all the advantages, and those cows will put on weight just like the black Angus. Well, a lot of people do that. But for small homesteads, if you're sticking with something like a Piney Wood, Florida crackers, they're the Dexters, they're great cattle for small homesteads because you want small cows. Small cows are easier to handle,
yep.
and they will provide you meat, and they're more efficient on the land. So that's your primary goal is getting meat in your freezer, and then having
Yep.
some to sell.
Yep.
So that's what you're looking at with those small cows. That's why I think that for Florida crackers are a southern homesteader's dream. I mean, there's nothing better down here than Florida.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna take a look at those and kind of like measure out how much grass I actually got. Last year, I seeded the place, so now I've got that grass coming in real nice, and
Mhm.
it's getting good. But what I do need is like I know I've got to like free range those chickens on it just to like start getting it fertilized and like getting it going. I had the advantage of forestry mulching on like your land. Like mine was completely wooded, just like you, but I have gear. So I was able to mulch the entire place. And so when I was done clearing mine, I mean, I left all the big oak trees and everything, but I had like that much mulch on the entire thing. And for like 2 years, it was just like that. And then it just broke into black dirt. I mean, just
Mhm.
black dirt. And then I came in with a box blade, I leveled it all out, and then I seeded it. And now it's just like, it's crazy now.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, the mulchers are a fantastic piece of equipment. That is by far the best way to convert property, and to leave all those wood chips there and let them break down and
yeah,
biodegrade. And if you start running cattle over the top of that, you're going to see an explosion because you're in your growth. Because what you're going to do is now all of a sudden your grass is going to be trimmed down and it's going to stay in the optimal growth range, right? So we want that grass to be trimmed down and for those cows just to come in there and bite the top off of it when it's about 9 inches long or so, right? Depending on the type of grass.
yeah,
And so that's going to keep that grass in that growth range because the grass grows in an S curve, right? So we want to keep it right there at the top of that, where it stays in its highest producing form. And the chickens won't do that for you. Chickens don't like tall grass; they want short grass. So you get the best benefit with chickens if you run them after the cattle, and then they'll scratch the manure into the ground. They eat the worms and everything, and they break it all up. So it's a
yeah.
huge benefit there. And they do the same thing with the pigs. So you will our ideal way of doing it is to run the cows first and then the pigs and then clean it all up with the chickens. We're not currently doing that mostly because I've got so much brush on the landscape right now that we're still trying to clear.
Yeah.
And we don't daily rotate our pigs. I'm sorry, we rotate the cows, but the pigs I tend to, because it's easier, I just will put them on an acre and then I run them through about a ton, well, 1 ton of feed on that acre, and then I move them to another acre.
Now, will they tear up the grass? You got to move them often.
Um, so the pigs, yes, they do tear up the pasture. If pigs by nature root. What we've found
Yeah.
is one, don't farrow your own pigs. It's a nightmare. Try it for a year, but farrowing pigs and breeding pigs is a pain in the ass. And so we try to stay away from that now. We've
Okay.
farrowed pigs for several years. Now we don't do that anymore. And that gets rid of a lot of your rooting because you're only raising pigs for 8 months out of the year then, and then you can allow that land to recover after that. And then if you raise them out on pasture and I put say 10 pigs on an acre and those 10 pigs, I let them go through their 1 ton of feed, right? So they've got plenty of supplement there. And then once that feed is gone, I move them. So at that level of disturbance, I've got good disturbance in the soil, not bad disturbance. So they've rooted up some stuff. They're going to pull out the kudzu and the Chinese privet and the stuff that's less desirable.
Mm-hmm.
They'll root it completely out and take the root balls out. All the old, I had an oak stump that was probably 4 feet in diameter, that had been cut down a couple of years before I bought the place, and it was just this old rotten stump. And those pigs tore it apart in one afternoon. It's gone. No stump
Wow.
at all.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it was completely
Yeah.
gone. So they'll get rid of the old rotten stuff. They'll get the grubs out of it. So they do a really healthy amount of disturbance, and then you move them to a new area, let them disturb that new area, let that area recover, and then you can start grazing cattle on it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's super cool, man. I'm interested in all this stuff. I mean, right now I think my thing has been I've been moving mulch loads today actually. But just like I'm building soil. So what I've learned from these different 3 gurus we spoke about, 2 feet of mulch, because I'm planning on planting on it, but I'm not doing anything with it right now. So I just cover the land with 2 feet of mulch chips.
Mhm.
And then what I kind of like to, if I might plant them in a month or 2, that's not enough time for it to break down. So what I'll do is I'll dig out a hole and then I'll fill that with good compost.
Mhm.
And then I'll put the tree in that area. And then it's like, okay, I got everything mulch chipped. And so I'm trying to get the permaculture on our thing going right now because it takes the longest.
Yeah, see, what we're trying to do is trying to get chips on our property, because that people don't realize, if you have a supply of chips, of wood chips,
Yep.
that is like your most valuable asset for building your soil, building your land. Because even just letting it compost naturally itself is a huge amount of biomass for composting. But to be able to mulch your property with that, we're doing the exact same thing here, and I'm trying to cover an entire 1 acre orchard that we're planting, and I want that whole thing this much with wood chips, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of wood chips to get there. And so you have to have a good supply of that. And so if you have that regular access to those, that is gold. I mean, it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been doing. And so, I do want to add, the fish thing, the aquaponics thing, at some point this year, because I want the fish poop basically, because I'm seeing the benefits of that. That stuff is so expensive at the store to buy.
Well, like we talked about the other day, our goal here on the farm is to basically have 1 pond that we use as our aquaponics. That pond will be fed from our well or from rainwater runoff, and then we'll use that to pump directly and irrigate off of that pond.
Yeah. So you'll just assume that it's in the water already.
Yeah,
right.
Basically, and Joe Salton talks about this in one of his books, that the ideal water take up spot, that where the most nutrients is in your pond, about 16. I think it's 16 inches off the surface. So the way that and you see the picture in his old book. Basically, they took a garden hose and they attached it to an old gas can, and they threw it out there, and so the garden hose floats down 16 inches below the surface, and he pumps it off. And that's really what you're looking to do. So you install a float there in the center of your pond that's designed to pull water 16 inches off the top of the wall.
Yep. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's just the opportunity. I mean, it's endless. Once you start learning how to work with it and you start figuring out that a lot of this stuff is waste scrap material. And a lot of this stuff is, once you're going, it's free to do. It's like I talk about my avocado trees. I just grafted my first 2. It's literally free to do. I get avocados, I make the guacamole, the family loves it, the whole thing. But then it's like, you've got these seeds. I figured out how to germinate them. You and I discussed that yesterday. I'm like, I found a good way to germinate avocados. Everyone's got their own method, the little water cup thing. I put them in a flower box and I got it sitting in a perfect spot. And like, a lot of them germinate, maybe more than half. Maybe 80% of them germinate. So
yeah, that's really exciting, actually, that you mentioned that, because if you can learn the grafting and you can grow your own rootstock, and then you've got 1 tree that you can pull off of to graft, I mean, you've got an endless supply of avocado trees. You put on a high tunnel in your property, man, or something that you can raise them out in and get them started. I am all about that. Like that's our next step, is to really start learning about grafting.
And I'm buying these things from the store for like $95. So, so I'm thinking I'd probably maybe get 20 or 40 grafts off of 1 tree a year. And I know that I'm going to get the fruit off of it. Like, what I'm saying is I'll probably get 50 avocados off a tree, or more, whatever, but let's just call it 50. And then I can get 40 of those to germinate after, assuming I consumed the avocados. Like I made the guacamole and gave it to my buddies or whatever. And then I get 40 of those. And then, a year out, they're about that tall. And I can graft, just take a cutting and graft it on. 40 times $90.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on one tree, not to mention if I sold those 50, obviously I need rootstock, but like if I sold those avocados for $100, $2 a pair or whatever at a farmer's market, I'm just starting to see like each one of these trees I've got in the ground possibly might bring in 1,000, $1,500, maybe more in revenue annually.
Well, and you think about how easy it is to sell things like that when every avocado that you go to the store and buy is what, a product of Mexico, right? Isn't that where most of them come from?
Mexico's big chili too, but
They're
Mexico.
products of Mexico. So if I can go and I can pay the exact same price and buy local produce that's organically raised, I mean, we do that every week with our tomatoes when we because our tomatoes didn't work out this year. Oh, I'm still learning how to garden. So
Hey,
they didn't quite
mulch
work out.
chips, by the way, when they start splitting, too much water. You got to have a lot of mulch chips around it. Really helps
Yeah.
equalize it.
Well,
Yeah.
and yeah, and absolutely, you're 100% right there. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, so we buy a lot of tomatoes from a local place here, just because I don't want to go buy the cardboard one from Costco. And don't get me wrong, I love Costco. Costco is a great store, but I don't want to buy their tomatoes. Their tomatoes suck. So,
Nope.
and I don't want to buy produce in that comes in some type of package like the lettuce does in the store, that's vacuum sealed in those packages, that the romaine lettuce for everything looks the exact same. Like it's got it's got the nutritional value of water. I don't want that. I want good
No.
locally raised stuff.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you 100%. So, I mean, I think we're going to leave it there. There's a lot in this conversation. I enjoy these conversations big time. And
Yeah, I always have fun talking to you about it.
I mean, dude, I love this stuff. And I think that we're at the beginning of a huge freaking trend. I guess my buddies and I were calling it meta modern a while ago. And then, I found a picture of us back in the college days. One of us had had dressed up as I don't know, done a drag queen event or something like that. It was really funny. It was like for a charity fundraising thing.
Uh-huh.
And so I took a picture of my buddy and I was like, can this be my brand? Are you guys okay with me calling it meta gay? And they're like, yeah, that works. And so I was like, dude, so I've been joking with these guys. I've just been calling it like the meta gays, like our tribe. and, and, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing all these people coming into this space. I'm interacting with these people in my town. Like I'm going to do tree removals for them, stump grinding for them. And I'm like, oh, I see they've got an effort of garden, so not more than just like a row box. They got, some effort going on out there. And so I ask them, hey, what are your plans? And especially these young kids, the 20s and 30s, they're like, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. I mean, a lot of these kids really genuinely want to homestead. Mm-hmm. And there is just an endless amount of options to network with these people. I mean, everyone's growing something different. Your kiwis, bananas, everyone does something different. I got avocados, like everyone does something different, but there's an endless possibility of networking with these people. And they need things like these people need wood chips. They need compost that's ready to go. They just need an endless amount of stuff.
Have you ever seen that show, Homestead Rescue? Have you ever watched that?
No.
Okay, so when my wife and I, when we got sick, like that was like what we
What
started watching.
Yeah.
You're bedridden, so it's like, okay, well, we got to watch something.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learned watching that show was that 2 million people have started homesteading and gone off grid over. I think it was the last decade. Is what it said. But
Okay.
2 million people in the U.S. have gone off grid in the last decade. I mean that's an astronomical number when you think about it. That many people have said, you know what, I really don't need power that badly. I really don't need water that badly. I can provide everything for myself and I can do this myself. I don't need to be connected to a plumbing system.
I'm pretty, so I got to have my water and my power, but I
think it's just really cool. And, like we're on a well here. Like if anybody's following our channel, they know that we had our well drilled. I'm getting ready to do the well pump install here, probably this month or next month here in the next 6 weeks, we'll have our well pump in. And then one of the projects that Amanda Lynn is really excited about, she wants to take us completely off grid power wise, which I know you're in Florida. You can't do that there for both, right? And that's the deal.
I can do it. Yeah. Yeah. We're the solar here.
There's something in Florida that some homesteading thing where some judge ruled on that you have to be connected to the grid, either water or power.
They do want you to be quote connected, I believe. But we already are by default. Well,
and I'm not sure how enforceable of a thing that is,
but you can sell power. If you don't have a battery pack, you can sell it back to the grid at night or, during oversupply. And then at night you can pull back if you don't have batteries. Right, of course, if you have a power outage or whatever, and the grid's down, you're down. But, but at least in the morning you won't be. So That's cool. I mean, that's a cool stat. And then just Joel's stat on like 50% of these farms are changing hands. And so you're talking about major real estate deals. And yeah, and the buddy I was messing with our brand name there, he hit me up this week and he's like, hey man, how can I get some money into regenerative farming as an investment? I got some extra cash.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, let me get back to you on that. Because I got plans like buying a larger tract once I've got mine planted out, and because you talk about the cows and all, and I'm thinking like I need more land. You know what I mean? I'm like, I want to.
No, we come across that all the time. We're like, we
Yeah,
need more land. We only have 20 acres,
yeah,
And then when I get 50 acres, I want more land than that, And we had,
of course.
my wife and I, we had purchased 150 acres up at the north end of Alabama, and we ended up selling that. We were going to move out there, but we ended up selling that. And but I remember even after we bought that, like as soon as we bought it, we were like, oh, we need more land.
We need more land. Yeah.
So land is like a bigger tractor, right? You always need a bigger tractor. It's the same.
Oh, always. Although I do have to say, before I let you go, I just got a 74 horsepower tractor, and I'm feeling like that's about good enough.
Yeah.
But with that said, because my buddy told me my buddy's got 27 tractors. All right, kid's killing it. Nick Snow and Mow, I think it's 27 tractors. Nick Snow and Mow up in Canada. He does snow blowing with tractors. He kills it.
Yeah.
And I remember he bought one of my courses. He had one tractor, and now the kid's like, he's a rock star. But nonetheless, he had told me when he's like, Trav, a 35 to 50 horsepower tractor is about perfect for all around use. And I had a smaller one to start. I had 25 horse, and I was like, yeah, he's right. And then I got the 74 horse, and I was like, oh, it's a little big because I'm trying to fit in some tight spots. And then of course today, as it goes, I get a call for 500 acre bush mowing monthly project, and I'm like, my tractor's too small.
So that's really funny because, one of the things is when you're talking about like tractor size for homesteads, you'll hear a lot of people and they say you should buy the largest tractor that you can afford to buy. And I've never actually agreed with that because I think for homesteads and small hobby farms and stuff, to me, you should be buying the smallest tractor that'll get the job done. Because you have other things that you need to tie your money up. Now you're running a business; that's a whole different.
Exactly.
But if you're, we run our farm off of. I have a 28 horsepower John Deere. And we're able to do everything that we need to do on 20 acres with that tractor. There's very few times where I've been like, I wish I had a little bit more power. And even those times where I wanted a little bit more power, it wasn't that a 40 horsepower tractor would have done it for me. It was that I wanted a 120 horsepower tractor. Something with a mulching head on it.
Tractoring is like eating an elephant. All tractors will do the same job. It just takes more time.
Yeah.
You can grade 50 acres with a 20 horsepower tractor. You can do it with a 200 horsepower tractor. It's just a matter of time. Mm-hmm. And like, because I mean, tractors just bite a little bit at a time, and that's really all it is. And actually, my loader is not nearly as powerful as my smaller tractor loader was. That's the only thing is I've got a loader that's a little bit weaker. So, but it's got more lift height. So whatever. But well, man, it was great having you on. We'll do more of these. You guys put in the comments what you guys want, what your questions are, or what your interests are, or your stories. I think that this is a huge trend. I think that this is here to stay. And I think that this is going to make people very, very wealthy that get into this space. And I genuinely mean that. I mean, this is a needed thing. People have to eat. I see costs continually falling once you're in it, like we were talking about with your compost and your soil and things like that. And as they continue to inflate the currency, prices will rise and your costs will remain fixed or fall. That is a winning combination. I don't know where you can find that in any other industry.
No, I think you're 100% right. So I guess we'll leave it at that. I really appreciate you having me on, Travis. Always fun.
Dude, definitely. And I will be linking to his channel. You guys go over there, check him out. He's putting out a video. How many do in video day?
You're putting them out. I'm doing about one video a day. Yeah, I take Fridays off and I sometimes take Sundays off. So, okay. But Monday through Thursday and then Saturday mornings. I always release on Saturday mornings. So our part 1 will be released this Saturday morning.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, guys, go over there, check it out. He's got a lot of good stuff. I was on there today, figured out that they got bananas in Alabama. Dude, that literally blew my morning, man. I was like, what? Because you got the same banana I have. I was like, now I got competitors up in Alabama. All right, man. You have a good night.
All right, bud. Thanks.